Welcome back to Comment with me, George Galloway, here on Press TV. Now, unless something changes in the next hour or two, it looks like the United Nations Security Council is going to endorse a resolution from Britain and France, an Anglo-French Sykes-Picot plan for Western military aggression against Libya. Now, it's possible that the Chinese and the Russians may veto it, but it's looking, according to the French at least, increasingly unlikely that they will do so, and that therefore, by perhaps midnight tonight, it will be the beginning of a new war in the Middle East between Western countries and an Arab government. William Spring is a spokesperson for something called Christians Against NATO Aggression. I'm not familiar with them, but William's on the webcam, and we're all going to be familiar with him pretty soon. William, thanks very much for joining us. Tell us in a nutshell, who are Christians Against NATO Aggression?
Well, George, we are now known as CANA UK, but our original name was Christians Against NATO Aggression. We were established some years ago, campaigning initially over the Yugoslav war. But the point is the Blair Wars just continued. After 1999, we then got Iraq, and then we got Afghanistan. We had Sierra Leone, which was a minor thing to do with diamonds, but still a war of aggression. And now we've got another threat of a war in Libya. Meanwhile, we've got a situation in Bahrain whereby American surrogate troops are being used to quell a legitimate political protest. I mean, the Saudis are acting actually for Robert Gates. They're not acting on their own. They've acted because Washington has told them to do so, just as the Ugandans and the Ethiopians have acted in Somalia as surrogate troops for the United States. And it's an appalling situation. It's double standards throughout. Now, regarding Libya, I think that we, the British and the French, have absolutely no, to use a legal term, locus standi, no standing to actually impose any no-fly zone. All we have is a record of aggression, imperialism and deceit not only against the Arab masses, but against the British people. And this is another Cameron-type, Blair-type cloned version of the Iraq War. I don't know whether, George, you remember, there was a chap called Lord Birkenhead, previously F.E. Smith, and I think it was G.K. Chesterton said something like, "Chuck it, Smith." And I think Cameron should chuck it. I mean, I am a Conservative. I did stand, as a matter of fact, as a councillor in the local elections. But I certainly do not want to see Britain involved in a civil war between two regions of Libya, one Cyrenaica, the other Tripolitania. I mean, I'm all in favour and in sympathy with liberation, wherever it is. But I do not think the British or the Americans, and certainly not the Americans, have any right whatsoever to intervene.
Well, I think that was very clear, and as a Conservative and a Christian, you're most welcome in your ire against NATO aggression. And let me take you back to what we were, I think, both therefore saying in '99, that the attack on Yugoslavia would be followed by attacks on others, that the attack on Afghanistan would be followed by an attack on Iraq, that the attack on Iraq would be followed by an attack on Iran, which mercifully hasn't happened yet, but which they're constantly threatening. And that attack after attack after attack would merely beget more attacks, because the validation of the right of Western imperialist countries to try to seize either direct control or indirect control through puppets, the wealth and the resources of the East and the Muslim world, was going to be contested, was going to generate hatred against us across the world. So we were right, William, when we opposed the war in Yugoslavia, because we knew it would all lead to this.
It's the template of the wars that carried on into the noughties, after 2000. It had no UN resolution, demonised the leader. There were a series of spurious atrocities committed, mostly by, actually, one of those massacres was arranged by William Walker, who was the El Salvador consul for the United States of America, who ran death squads in Central America before he moved across to the Balkans. So,
my goodness, you don't sound like a conservative to me, William. I think you're going to have to review that. But nonetheless, let me ask you now, if this resolution passes tonight, this Anglo-French, this Sykes-Picot resolution to authorize military attacks, because it's no longer a no-fly zone resolution. As you'll know, they've added the right to attack any and all places, installations, people and things in Libya into this resolution. If this passes tonight, when can we expect the first Western attack on Libya?
I don't know what their operational details are, but this is something that has clearly been planned for a long time. I mean, we could have attacks beginning immediately. We have no knowledge of what their plans are, but the no-fly zone is an entirely illegal construct. I mean, we should get back to the basic principle of international law, which is actually non-intervention. And Chapter 7 resolutions can only be done with the full support and endorsement of the Security Council. And I asked Russia and China to veto any resolution against Libya tonight.
Well, they might do so, but the French are currently claiming that the resolution is going to go through. So they may be bluffing, or they may know something that you and I don't know. But China and Russia should know that one day these kind of things will be used against them. That these kind of devices to support separatism and the breaking up of their countries will be used against them, don't you think? Can't they see that?
But can I just go back briefly to Bahrain? I just feel very grieved and upset by what the Americans are doing in Bahrain. I used to travel over that bridge from the KSA regularly, and I tell you, I always had a great sense of freedom, relative freedom, arriving in Bahrain compared to Saudi Arabia a few years ago. Now, peculiarly enough, Robert Gates seems to be seeking to import into Bahrain the Wahhabi Matawa of Saudi Arabia. Now, this isn't Western liberalism that Robert Gates stands for. It's some form of fascism. And I think Robert Gates' record is terrible. I mean, he's the one who's incarcerated Bradley Manning. He's the one who's put Julian Assange into a honey trap of sorts, or supposedly. He keeps Guantanamo Bay open. He's a total disgrace to conservatives.
No, and of course he was the Bush secretary before he was Obama's. William Spring from Christians Against NATO Aggression. Quite a find, I think. I'm not sure how conservative he is. I think I'll convert him. William, thanks very much for joining us. We've got so many people on the line, I really have to press on. Let's go to Blair in London on Bahrain. I hope I've got your name right. Blair?
My name is Mr. Hussain.
Go ahead, sir.
First of all, I welcome you to come. I appreciate what you are doing, helping for innocent people in Bahrain all over the world.
Thank you.
And I am very sorry what Saudi Arabia has done to attack on Bahrain innocent people. Why that this army did not come out when the Palestinian people were dying? How? They are American puppet. Their days are numbered now. Inshallah.
Yeah, I believe that they have lit a touch paper,
yeah,
which will explode in their own faces in their own country. And you see what's happening in Qatif just this evening. Thanks for that. Let's go to Hussein in London on Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. Hussein, welcome to the show. Hussein, are you there? Hassan, I beg your pardon. Go ahead. Hassan? Neither Hussein nor Hassan appear to be there. We're talking, of course, about the situation in Bahrain, talking about the debate that's going on right at this minute in the Security Council, which may well authorize Western attacks on Libya as early as the early hours of the coming morning. You may wake up or you may go to Friday prayers with Western aeroplanes bombarding, killing in Libya. Another Western Arab war, whose consequences, of course, are unforeseeable. Rashida is on the line. Let's talk to her. She's in London. About Bahrain. Rashida, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Brother George.
Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.